Very few in world football have gotten to the level that Cristiano Ronaldo has over the last decade without possessing an elite mentality, one characterized by hard work, perseverance, physical and mental toughness, and the immense confidence to believe in oneself in times of doubt, despair, and uncertainty. So far, there hasn't been any player who has frequently defied the odds as Cristiano Ronaldo has over the last 15 years of his career. He started from the bottom deep in the slums of Madeira and made his way to the upper echelons of world football. And while on top of the mountain, the challenges has often arrived at levels that threatened his position. Several instances, many have thought Cristiano and his team were going to fail, going to crash out of major tournaments until he just keeps bringing them back. There are very few players in world football who would have felt confident in backing themselves to make a comeback when all seemed lost. Ronaldo was a phenomenon, and without further ado, let us take a look at some of the moments that made him the true comeback king of European football. The battle between Portugal and Sweden in November 2013 was billed as the ultimate heavyweight fight, Cristiano Ronaldo versus Zlatan Ibrahimovic. At the time, both were at the absolute peak of their powers, but because of the European qualification draw, only one of them could go to the 2014 FIFA World Cup in Brazil. For two of the greatest players in history, the stakes were now or never. Portugal had won the first leg in Lisbon 1-0 thanks to a diving header from Ronaldo. It was a slim advantage that felt fragile against a Swedish side known for being clinical at home. At age 28, this was seen as Ronaldo's opportunity to lead Portugal as captain to a World Cup. An exit would have been a national tragedy for Portugal and a strain on his legacy at the height of the Messi versus Ronaldo feud. 50 minutes into the second leg, Ronaldo strikes. Zlatan, with the fire inside to shut Ronaldo down, scored twice in 5 minutes. The score was now 2-2 on aggregate. Due to the away goal rule, Portugal still had the advantage. Sweden needed a goal. However, they had just scored twice and the home crowd was buzzing. They had an advantage they could only have themselves to blame for not taking. A few minutes later, João Moutinho played a greatly timed through ball. Ronaldo stayed onside, took one touch into the box and lashed a left-footed strike across the goalkeeper. After that, he pointed to the turf and his chest, famously shouting, "I am here." A few minutes later, he completed his hat-trick, leaving the score at 4-2 on aggregate. Sweden was out and even Zlatan couldn't deny the greatness he had just witnessed. In April 2016, Real Madrid faced a crisis that threatened to derail their season and the early coaching tenure of Zinedine Zidane. The Champions League quarterfinal against VfL Wolfsburg became the stage for one of the most iconic individual rescue missions in football history. Real Madrid entered the second leg in a state of shock. Despite being heavy favorites, they had dropped the ball back in Germany, losing 2-0 in the first leg. The stakes couldn't have been higher. Real Madrid had not overturned a first leg deficit in the Champions League for 14 years. The last time they had done so was in 2002, with Zidane himself on the pitch as a player. Having only taken over in January, a quarter-final exit to a mid-tier Bundesliga side would have been seen as a catastrophic failure for the Frenchman. Because they hadn't scored in Germany, a single goal from Wolfsburg at the Bernabeu would have forced Madrid to score 4. This was gearing up to be a difficult and dangerous game for Los Blancos. Cristiano Ronaldo, who had reportedly told his teammates before the match, "We are going to win and I'm going to score 3, scored twice in quick succession. The first in the 16th minute and the second 86 seconds later. Just like that, Madrid had restored parity. Wolfsburg would make sure to lock in and prevent their defense from leaking any more goals. However, little could be done in the 77th minute when Real Madrid won a free kick. Up stepped Ronaldo, who struck the ball into a tiny gap in the wall, the net bulging moments after. The Bernabeu erupted as Ronaldo received all the glory. This would prove very useful in the grand scheme of things, as Madrid would go on to win the Champions League that season and Ronaldo the Ballon d'Or at the end of the year. In June 2016, the European Championship in France was turning into a nightmare for Cristiano Ronaldo. Portugal had arrived as dark horses but found themselves staring at a humiliating group stage exit. The final group game against Hungary became a win-or-go-home battle that defined the spirit of the team that would eventually become champions. Prior to this game, Portugal had only one goal and Ronaldo himself was greatly struggling, having missed a penalty against Austria and failing to score with 20 consecutive shots. Ronaldo was so frustrated that he was filmed throwing a reporter's microphone into a lake during a team walk. Under the tournament's format, a loss to Hungary would have sent Portugal home in the group stage, an unthinkable failure for a team led by the then 3-time Ballon d'Or winner. The nightmare began when Hungary took the lead in the 19th minute. In response, Portugal equalized with Nani through an assist from Ronaldo before halftime. 2 minutes after the second half, Hungary struck again. Portugal, unwilling to die yet, scored minutes later through who else but Cristiano Ronaldo, scoring his first goal of the tournament with a superb backheel flick. Hungary proved immensely stubborn once more, scoring in the 55th minute. Ronaldo had to once again rise to the challenge, rising highest in the box to meet a Ricardo Quaresma cross, powering a header into the net. Although the match ended in a draw, Portugal qualified and went on to win the tournament. In June 2018, the World Cup in Russia opened with a heavyweight clash that felt more like a movie script than a group stage match. Portugal versus Spain. The build-up to this famous Iberian clash was among the most dramatic in modern football history for two primary reasons: the sacking of Lopetegui and Ronaldo's tax fraud case verdict. Just 48 hours before kickoff, the Spanish Federation fired their manager Julian Lopetegui after discovering he had secretly signed with Real Madrid. Spain, one of the favorites to win the trophy, was a ship without a captain. On the very morning of the match, news broke that Ronaldo had accepted a 2-year suspension prison sentence and an 18.8 million euros fine in a Spanish tax fraud case. He was walking into the pitch to face the country that had just convicted him. Ronaldo had a notoriously poor record against Spain and had never scored against them in his career. At 33, this was his chance to prove he could still dominate the world stage and possibly bring home the elusive World Cup trophy 2 years after acquiring the European Championship. Ronaldo scored early with a penalty, but Spain's tiki-taka eventually took over. Diego Costa and a thunderous volley from Nacho put Spain ahead 3-2 with just minutes remaining. As the clock ticked towards the 88th minute, Spain looked set to win a game they had dominated. Then Gerard Piqué committed a foul on the edge of the box. Up stepped Ronaldo, hitting a straight mark pose and rolling up his shorts. He puffed a few times, and moments after striking the ball, the crowd erupted. Ronaldo all by himself had done it once more. The man for the big occasion had turned up again. Although Portugal didn't go on to win the tournament this time, eliminated by a stunning Cavani masterclass in their match against Uruguay, this performance became one of the most famous performances at the World Cup. In March 2019, Cristiano Ronaldo produced what many consider his greatest individual night in a Juventus shirt. It was a masterclass in psychological warfare and physical dominance against a team that specialized in making their opponents suffer. In the first leg in Madrid, Atletico had bullied Juventus, winning 2-0. Statistics were grim. No team in Champions League history had a lower probability of advancing than one facing a Diego Simeone defense with a 2-goal lead. After Atletico's second goal in the first leg, Simeone famously turned to his fans and made a provocative gesture towards his groin to show his team had quote-unquote balls. It was a public humiliation for Juventus. Atleti fans clowned Ronaldo all night. This was their best opportunity to finally get back at their ultimate boogeyman. Ronaldo had put them through enough. Under immense pressure and criticism that his powers were fading, Ronaldo reportedly told his family and friends, "I'm going to score 3. He even told the club's media, "Get ready for comeback." He was 34 at the time. Surely his waning powers would make this a difficult mission to pull off. Well, Ronaldo doesn't age. On March 12, 2019, the Allianz Stadium was the venue. Juventus played with a ferocity rarely seen under Massimiliano Allegri, and Ronaldo was the spearhead. In the 27th minute of the match, he arrived. Federico Bernardeschi whipped in a deep cross. Ronaldo, moving like a predator, bullied the veteran Joao Fran at the back post and powered a header past Jan Oblak. 1 down. Right after halftime, Joao Cancelo delivered a curling cross. Ronaldo rose between two of the world's best aerial defenders, Godin and Jimenez, and struck a header so powerful that even though Oblak clawed it away, goal line technology confirmed it had struck the line. The aggregate was 2-2. With extra time looming, Bernardeschi was tripped in the box. The stadium went silent as Ronaldo stepped up to the penalty spot. Facing the best goalkeeper in the world at the time, he remained ice cold, sending Oblak the wrong way to complete his hat-trick. As the final whistle blew, Ronaldo celebrated by mimicking Simeone's gesture for the first leg, a revenge celebration that went viral instantly. In the post-match interview, he was asked about the miracle. He simply said, "This is why Juventus signed me, to help on magical nights like these." This was Ronaldo's 25th goal against Atletico Madrid. He had become their ultimate boogeyman, knocking them out of the Champions League for the 5th time in 6 seasons, 4 with Real Madrid, 1 with Juventus. In September 2021, Cristiano Ronaldo's return to Manchester United had reached its first major crossroad. The Champions League group game against Villarreal at Old Trafford wasn't just a match, it was a desperate battle for survival in a season that was rapidly spiraling out of control. The atmosphere at Old Trafford was thick with a mixture of nostalgia and anxiety. The stakes were personal and professional. Just a few months earlier, Villarreal had defeated Manchester United in the Europa League final after a grueling 22-round penalty shootout. United were desperate for revenge against the Yellow Submarine. United had lost their opening group game to Young Boys in a shocking upset. A second consecutive loss, especially at home, would have put them on the verge of a disastrous group stage exit. Manchester United manager Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was under immense pressure after a string of poor domestic results. A loss here would have intensified the calls for his sacking. In the 53rd minute, Villarreal would take the lead through Paco Alcacer. United would respond through Alex Telles. As the game entered 5 minutes of added time, the draw seemed inevitable. Villarreal were content with a point and United looked exhausted. A sequence of connection from Fred to Ronaldo to Lingard and then back to Ronaldo would allow United to attain their winner. Ronaldo being the man who struck from a very tight angle to win them the match with seconds to go on the watch. The stadium absolutely erupted. Ronaldo ripped off his shirt and ran to the corner flag. A 36-year-old veteran still capable of producing the most electric moments in the sport. This was the first of several late winners Ronaldo would score in that group stage, followed by a winner against Atalanta and an equalizer in the return leg. After that game, Solskjaer simply said, "That's what happens at Old Trafford. When you have Cristiano on the pitch, you always have a chance."